Optimist podcast. Today with me, I have Bernard Taylor. He's a firefighter, paramedic, and he is seeking the Democratic nomination for Florida's 21st Congressional District. His district is home to Port St. Lucie, Fort Pierce, Stewart, Jupiter, and Palm Beach Gardens. It's a diverse, hardworking, and resilient community filled with dedicated educators, small business owners, frontline workers, and families looking for a better future. Bernard, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you. I would love to start with a little bit of your life story, backstory, how you decided to run this election cycle and why you're the big why you're doing it.
Well, first and foremost, I was born in Florida, white in Florida, so this is my home. I was born here in South Florida. I was born in Miami. Spent my first 10, 11 years down in Miami before moving up to the Treasure Coast, which again consists of Port St. Lucie, Martin County, and Indian River County, so up in the Vero Beach area. So we moved up here for my late middle school to high school years. So this place is home to me. Obviously, I left. I did the college thing. I explored the country. I've lived in Carolina, Mississippi, California, spent some time up in New York, and just nothing like Florida, man. I know we got to wrap around the country for craziness, but there's nothing like being home, man. So came back home to Florida, trying to find my way with what I wanted to do. I actually started working out with a chiropractor, just working in his office, learning that trade as an assistant. When I would work on a bunch of firefighters, and they would always look and be talking with me and be like, "Hey, man, you should be a firefighter." And I'm like, "What? You think I'm gonna go run into a burning building? Ain't no way." But after about a year of them just on me, I finally looked into it, and lo and behold, I fell in love with it, and it's probably the best career decision I ever made. I became a firefighter, EMT, eventually going to paramedic school and get my paramedic license. I started out in a department in Central Florida area over in Oak County. So that was an experience in itself. When they say Florida, it's just many different countries in one state. So that was an experience in itself. Eventually, I was able to make my way home back here to South Florida and work for a department that is in my district. So not only do I live in my district, I also serve my district as a firefighter paramedic. And just over time, especially this last year or so with all the chaos and everything that's been going on, whether it's their immigration policy and attacks on Haitians, with my wife being Haitian, kind of took that person away. Whether it's the attacks on the Department of Education with my son being autistic and me being an autism dad, and the possibilities of losing the IEPs and things that, kids with autism and special needs need that the government provides. Whether it's the thing with the economy and how a lot of people in my department were planning on retiring this year, but because of their plans and things that had nature, now they can't retire right now. And the domino effect of that is, let's say, for instance, I don't know how much you guys might know about the fire service, but when you want to promote, you have to wait for somebody to retire out at times.
Right.
So if you were thinking this person was going to retire, I'm going to be able to get promoted this year, and now that person can't retire, you can't promote. And the thing about the promotional test where I work, they only last for 2 years. So if you don't get promoted before those 2 years expired on that list, you have to take that test and go through that process all over again.
That's like a magical and horrific timeline. That's the same way I think in some other service groups as well, because I've heard it through some of my friends and family who are in the military, and
Yeah.
obviously the generations older than us are having an issue with retirement, as you
Right.
say, with the economy, but also with, everything down to whatever their plan was, whether it was to sell a home or something like that. Everything has been shuffled so many times for that.
Just like a huge domino effect. And then again, I serve my district, so my district has a lot of elderly constituents, and they depend on things like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And what I try to, educate people on is the fact that a lot of our seniors, their only form of income is Social Security. Their only way of getting medical care is Medicaid. And a lot of those people live in nursing homes and rehab facilities and assisted living facilities. Without those programs, those people are homeless if they don't have family to go back to. And even if you do have family to go back to, now your family just incurred another expense because now they have to take care of you, which is another mouth to feed. And if you require any kind of 24-hour assistance and you have a working family, now they have to pay for someone to come take care of you. So as a family, you can incur another $50,000 to $60,000 expense, maybe even more, depending on the level of care that family member needs. So everything that happens, people think, oh, it's not going to affect it. It all affects us one way or another. It trickles down. The money don't work, but they trickle down economic, but everything else trickles down to us, unfortunately.
I appreciate you connecting all of the dots because I think you're right. I think a lot of people think that things are operating in vacuums, and if the Social Security runs out or we don't expand it in the way that it needs to be expanded, that it's not ever going to affect them. But in reality, not only will it affect them personally, but it will also affect everyone in their family and, like you said, their day to day life. With talking about the elderly, I was looking at Florida 21, and there are a lot of people there with the ability to vote. Do you know the like demographic breakdown of the ages? That is one thing I
Yes,
couldn't
this
find.
is a very elderly population. So Port St. Lucie and Martin County, Stewart area are retirement communities. That
Okay.
is actually changing over the past couple of years with the migration of everybody from the south moving up north. So it's like a domino, again, that domino effect.
Right.
Miami has become extremely expensive to live in. So what do people in Miami do? They move to Broward. Well,
Right.
Broward, the people that can't afford to live in Broward, where do they go? They try to go to
Moving
Palm
up.
Beach. All the people in Palm Beach, where do they go? So everything is kind of migrating north to this area. And like I say, I grew up here. And if you'd have told me that where I live now, which is the place we used to ride dirt bikes, would be this big like housing community, I would have laughed at you. And now it's just this crazy the growth that's up here. So you're starting to have more working class families move in, a lot more children move in. So I think the last numbers I looked at, this whole district was close to 1 million people in terms of population. Maybe a little bit over half of that are eligible voters or people within and voting range. And right now, Republicans in this district are out registered Democrats by about 6,000 registered voters. So the job over the next 17, 18 months is to bridge that gap as much as possible. We're getting registered voters, getting people educated and registered, not to mention, motivating and encouraging people of my age, my millennial generation, my Gen Z generation, my Gen X generation. The 65 and older, they go. They got in there.
Every time. Yeah.
That's all they have that look forward to. They won't do their votes. They're going to do their mail-in vote. They're going to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's up to myself and volunteers and just, again, all the stuff that I'm doing over the next 18 months to get my community, get the younger people motivated and educated and enthusiastic about voting, making sure that they're registered to vote and going from there. Because again, you have to be able to explain how things trickle down and affect their community. A lot of times, especially in marginalized communities, we coming from a marginalized community, we just feels like it's the same old, we've been on the same roller coaster ride my entire life. So what difference does my vote make? You have to break things down to, if we haven't learned anything over the past couple of years, you have to break things down to a very rudimentary level. A lot of people, the days of all of the smooth talking, slick talking politics, people don't hear that no more. They want you to be real with them. They want you to tell you the truth, even if it might hurt their feelings. They just want to hear the truth and want you to be a regular person and not be trying to get over them. So I think we got the right mindset to get it done. So
That leads me to my next question. You're talking about these politicians not being able to be their smooth talking, slimy salespeople version of themselves anymore. And I think that social media is actually playing a pretty big portion, like pretty big part of that. And you are someone with a large social media following. So like how do you expect to both leverage the social media but also not rely on it too much over the next 18 months to make sure that you are bridging that gap? Because obviously young people, we all have screen time problems, every
yes,
single one of us. But how are you going to bridge that gap with in-person events and actually getting out and knocking on doors and things like that?
So that's the thing. I think that's the beautiful part about my age, being 36. I know how to reach the older people and I know how to reach the younger people. I think I'm like right perfect in the middle. I know where younger people spend their time. I know where the older people spend their time. I've become members of all three Democratic clubs in the districts here. So I'm a part of the St. Lucie County Democratic Club, the Martin County Democratic Club, and the Northern Palm Beach Democratic Club. I'm always up to date on any events that are had. I attend all the the meetings they have every month to stay involved and stay engaged. Again, just getting, and they're just so enthusiastic about seeing me in there with them and somebody like starting early. I think the last election, I think the last election, the guy came in late and he wasn't really a native here per se. I think he was like, he lived just outside of the district. And it's a pretty big district, land-wise and
Right.
travel-wise. It takes a lot. You gotta be up and down the highway, and that's the beautiful part about me is I live on the northern part of the district, and I work in the southern part of the district. So
They cross it back and forth, back
I'm
and
always
forth.
up and down the highway, so that's no big thing for me. And again, just being able to relate to the people here that I've grown up with, that I know the things that they care about. I know the things that they would like to see change. And I know how they feel about the current congressperson. And it is going to be my job to make sure that I am a complete contrast to what we have now. And again, showing people that I'm a man of my word when I say a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I'm in it to just do for the people. Not trying to do this to get rich. I don't plan on taking any super PAC money, no big corporate donor money, no APAC money. This is strictly grassroots. I'm working on my petitions to get my name on the ballot.
Nice.
And we doing a lot of volunteer work. So this is strictly going to be of the people. That way, God willing, I do win. I'm not obligated to anyone but the people. And that's how I want it. If I can't win that way, I don't want to win.
Honestly, I think that's probably one of the most refreshing things that anybody can hear right now. I think as we all start to pay more and more attention to politics, we are starting to realize where all this money comes from, which is horrifying,
Yeah.
frankly. And you and I know each other from TikTok. I got in trouble on TikTok because I said politicians taking a lot of money from certain groups is, smells, looks, sounds
Yeah.
a little bit like a bribe to me.
Exactly. I know that's what it is. Because even if you don't say the word bribe, just look at it again. We're gonna be common sense people here.
Yeah.
If I give you $5 and that man gives you $1 million, and I say, "Hey, can you fix this road?" and that man says, "Hey, leave that road
Don't do
alone."
it. Yeah.
I don't think my road is getting fixed.
Who's exactly? Who are you listening to when they go
Exactly.
knocking on your door? I think about that a lot. Yeah.
And that's the thing is like when we say people are waking up to it, we're starting, you know, other people, because a lot of people already know this stuff, but like the average American is starting to put two and two together. Like, wait a minute, that man has $5 million, and these are the people he getting it from. Why would he listen to me and my concerns when all he has to worry about is making sure that the people that's giving him the $1 million are happy?
Keep giving that $5 million every year.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that is part of something that is really hard for congressmen and women is especially in the House of Representatives, right? The day you get elected, you're running again in 2 years, right? I mean, I think the way that campaign finance is done in our country is frankly it's ass backwards and it has been for quite some time. Do you have any thoughts around campaign finance and how what that would look like if you do get
Definitely campaign refinance, campaign reform, campaign finance reform, 100%. Another thing I tell people all the time is I'm in this for a good time, not a long time. Plan on dying in this seat. So,
God?
for
Thank you.
yeah, no, and I still plan on being a firefighter, a paramedic. So that's the beautiful thing about my job. I only work 8 days a month, so they give me plenty of days to go up to Washington, argue people, and then to come back here and still do what I love to do. I'm still gonna
Right.
be a member of the community and serve my community the best way I know how. But yeah, definitely we need to look at campaign finance laws and reform everything. Definitely need to look at term limits. I signed a pledge yesterday. As a matter of fact, I tweeted out about it, signing a pledge that when I get into office, that I would co-sponsor, be a part of a term limits for the House of Representatives and Senate. Again, I'm not in this to be here for 30 years, 20 years. If I get in there for 2 years and you don't like the job I've done, get me out. That's my I'm
And
more than
that's the
happy.
point. That's
Yeah.
like literally what democratic elections should be looking like,
Yeah,
right?
we lost the plot along the way because
Yeah.
again, we just gone through it as people just, just kind of like whatever, it doesn't affect us. And in reality, it all affects us. And I want to be, in my 30s now, when I get to be that age and I'm depending on these programs that they're trying to get rid of, like I would like for those programs to be still when I get there. I would like for my mom's getting close to that age and she's been
Yeah.
working since she was 14. I'm fighting to make sure those programs are there for her. She's been looking forward to, hey, just being able to sit down and now you're trying to
Take a
take
breath.
yeah.
These are our parents' generation. So I'm actually about your age as well. I'm 35, and my parents, one of them just started on Social Security, and the other one will in the next couple of years. And it is crazy to think that like literally in just a couple generations we're now saying that this program isn't working, right? When we know it is working. It does
Yes.
work. It could be much better. It should be better
Yeah,
funded,
it'd be a
right?
whole lot better.
It can be so much better, but it actually is working, and so is the healthcare system that is for the elderly as well, right? So you already mentioned that you're a dad and you have a son who is autistic, and I'm the child of an educator. Say my mom, same thing as your mom. She started skipping high school to go be like a substitute teacher as at the middle school. And she was like, I skipped school all the time, and I was like, no, you didn't. She was
You want to
yeah.
just
She was like, I would go run the PE classes at the middle school. It's like, you nerd.
you nerd,
Um,
exactly.
but like, very strong feelings around our education system. And I was looking at your district, right? Florida 21 actually has some pretty good public schools in it.
Yes, yes.
How do you feel about the equity in the public schools? Is it very specific to certain neighborhoods? I saw one that was like a school for the arts that's in like the top 10 of the
Mhm.
entire country, but I didn't see many others from that
This,
district.
this district gets skewed a lot because of the cities at the bottom. Jupiter
Okay.
and Palm Beach Gardens are home to like Tiger Woods and
Oh,
Serena Williams,
of
and
course.
Bill Belichick has a penthouse in Jupiter. Like, so the
Him and
numbers,
his girlfriend.
him and his girlfriend. So like the bottom of the district skews the numbers a little bit as
Okay.
far as like the other schools and everything because they got the money to do things like that. But there are areas in the average working class family, like where I live up here in Port St. Lucie. Yes, there are definitely the school that my son goes to now. It is tremendous, especially working with kids on the spectrum. He absolutely adores his teacher. It's been a rough road trying to find him the right school and right environment that's going to be nurturing, understanding his need, and help him develop the things he needs to develop it. Finally moving to the area that I live in now, and this school finding out that they're the #1 rated classroom for kids on the spectrum. It was just like weight off my shoulders, like the stress was gone. But I'm fortunate that I live where I live. A lot of people don't have that in this district. And like I say, those programs and those caliber of educators should be spread throughout the area, not just where I live in my little section of the district. It should be the same in Fort Pierce as it should be in Indiantown, as it should be in East Stewart. Like, it's different areas where, again, the underprivileged who these things often affect way more, they can have better programs. And one of the things I also want to do in terms of education, which is a big thing I want to do, hopefully I can get it accomplished in 2 years. We'll see how it goes. I really want to look into bringing back trade certifications in high
Yes.
school. So when I
Yes.
went to high school, and back in 2007, when I graduated, 06, 07. So back in around that time, in the early 2000s, the high school I went to, when you got to be a junior into your senior year, along with your regular course load, you had to choose what we call academies. You had to choose an academy to go to. One of those academies, they taught you a trade. With that, when you graduated high school, you also had a trade certificate. So if you weren't able to go to college, you could at least start working. Like when I graduated high school, I had a CNA license.
Oh, wow.
So like I could go start working. I can do private home health care, or I can go work at a nursing facility right at 18, making really decent
Really
money.
good money for an 18-year-old. Yeah.
And if I looked into it at 18, I'm not gonna say I was the most mature as 18-year-old, but there are definitely more people who are more inclined. Like, you can, if you got the mind for it, you can start your own business with that type of certificate
Right.
at 18. So it gives people other opportunities as opposed to going to college, because we know how expensive college is. And truth be told, if you're not going to college to be like a doctor or a lawyer or something that needs extensive education, like, shout out to all my living arts majors, but it's not.
It's truly like it's the same type of mentality we put through public education too until very recently, where it's one size fits all. Everybody
Yeah.
should go to college. It's not for everybody. It's not for every profession. There are a lot of things you need school for, but like you could do it at a trade school. You could do it with an associate's degree, or like you said, just get prepared in high school so you can actually go out into the world. See, where I grew up, one high school had an auto mechanics.
Yeah, we had one of those
training.
too. Yeah.
Ours was so silly. It was the best high school in the entire city. And I was like, oh, all those kids are going to Ivy League schools, like paid for like the student parking lot, the cars in the student parking lot, like
It's ridiculous.
make me sick. Yeah. And I was like, oh, but that's the one that has the auto. Like, that's a great
Yeah.
trade. That is a trade that everybody needs, and you can make a lot of money doing it. And we need those people all the
Yeah,
time.
you know how many days in college I could have been changing oil if I knew how to or free
So much money.
or saving like need a fortune and all that.
Just pop by dorm room number 4.
That's the thing though, and like I believe again, just providing those opportunities will help a lot of things as far as like people being out of unemployment, people being out of poverty, just lifting up the bottom. We're all about lifting up the bottom to help, make society as best it can be as possible. I think the lower the floor with anything, the better society. When your floor is underground, obviously you never have a great society, but the higher the floor is of your society, the more successful and prosperous it can be. So
Well, and
I really
that's
do.
the phrase, right? The rising tides
Rising
bring
tide
all
lifts all
boats.
boats, exactly.
And to me, there's no reason why we are not investigating all of the ways to make things better for people who need it, because that's, like you said. So I have a couple of other notes here. I meant to ask you early on, talk to me. Why is your district called the Treasure Coast?
Oh, funny story. So this was a lot of places where a lot of ships went down. So back when they were doing all the exploration from the colony, from Europe and Africa and all these places over here in Florida, a lot of those boats sank right off the coast here. So like for a long period of time, you could just go diving out there and keep some nice treasure. Yeah. And obviously, once they realized that, the state and the county was like, oh no, anything y'all find out,
These are Florida waters. Florida waters. You can't.
So obviously, you find something, you better. I didn't find it here. I found this.
It was in the Bahamas. I swear. They're like, you haven't left the state in 10 years, sir. Interesting.
No, it's crazy. I see like as recently as not even 5 years ago, I think somebody was just doing the metal detector on the beach and found themselves some like changing money. So yeah, treasure coast indeed.
That makes sense. Yeah, I watched that terrible movie recently, Fool's Gold, with Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson. It's further south, Key West, but it's like right in that same time period. Okay, so in terms of looking forward, when you get to Congress, we're speaking it into existence here. When you get to Congress, how are you going to work across the aisle? We know Congress is the most divisive and frankly, it's probably one of the most times the least amount of activity they've ever had because they are having trouble working. So how could you possibly help bridge that gap as a junior congressman?
Luckily for me, like I work as a firefighter, and those of you who don't know, like 80% of the fire service is Republicans.
I was going to ask if they would vote for you, but I didn't want to bring it up.
I'm literally like, I'm working across the aisle every shift. Like, trust me, when I'm walking in the station, Fox News is on. So I'm like, it is that real out here in these streets. And these are the guys that I would trust with my life. Like at the end of the day, we may have differences of opinions on how things should run, different opinions on how policies should be, but we all have the same common goal. When someone's in trouble, putting our lives on to make sure that they're okay, to help them. And again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we look like. It doesn't matter what our genders are. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters in that moment. And that's how it should be when you're working in Congress. It should be, hey, we are here to represent 370 million people. We can't just cater. We can't, unfortunately, just cater to the few fringes on either side of the aisle. We have to do what's best for the collectives. So we have the collective. A lot of the things, again, on both sides of the aisle, a lot of the quote unquote extreme things, even though there's stuff on the left that they quote unquote call extreme, like making sure kids got food at lunch, breakfast, whatever, if you want to call that extreme. I'm sorry. I don't think that, but I will go with their word phrasing. It's about collectively meeting in the middle and compromising. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want a bunch of people to come in there and just, nope. Y'all had all this time and y'all, as Republicans, y'all been doing the worst things ever and not trying to compromise. So when Democrats get in here, we need to just say F them and we're gonna do what we want to do. And if we play that game, we're gonna be doing this for the rest of my life. Just whenever somebody gets in trouble, they're not gonna listen to the other side. Would I love everything to happen democratically and like a lot of the socially progressive things like codifying pro-choice laws and making sure that kids have breakfast and lunch at school at least every day, making sure our programs are programs that we use to help the poor in our country, whether that's SNAP, whether that's Medicaid, Medicare, all that stuff. Yes, I want to make sure that we make those programs the best that they could possibly be. Knowing at the same time, it's a numbers game. We got to be able to have the numbers to do all these things. And if we're just going to go in there and just be like, no, we don't need you, we don't need you, we don't need you. You see how that's working for the other side right now. They can't even pass they can't even pass a budget because they not working across the aisle and they can't even get everybody in their party to agree on one thing. So
That
again, I
does
have the
feel
experience.
like the lost art
Yeah,
of governing is like, oh, you're not here for you. You're not here for your name to be in the headlines. You're here for the
exactly.
people you represent.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's just like being able to, again, I have things that I'm just going to fight for, and I have morals and standards, and I have character, and I'm not going to compromise my character for anybody. But at the same time, if it's going to help my community and my district, and I have to work across the aisle to make it happen there, I got to do what's best for my people. And sometimes it's going to be swallowing a little bit of pride every now and again, as much as I might not want to. But a majority of the time, I'm gonna put down, this is how it's going to be.
Right.
We
Right.
cannot really be that way all the time. We have to be realistic about our expectations and realistic about the way things work in the world.
That is true. That's very true. All right. So, a couple more questions, including some of the more like recent events, right? Obviously, there's a lot going on throughout like the internet sphere around generally racism in America, right? And now I'm like a middle aged white lady who is just probably on the internet a little bit too much, but was also raised by two people who like grew up in very, very multicultural parts of Washington, D.C. And I just am wondering, obviously, you're my age, you're a black man, you have very different lived experience than I do. How are you going to combat this like very right wing portion of our country, right? Like I don't think there's as many people as we think there are who still believe in all of this like really truly heinous, despicable, racist shit. I don't think there is. However, I think they're very loud, and I think that there needs to be like an effort from people who are elected to Congress to, I don't want to say tamp down on free speech. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to make sure that they're not a violent portion of our society because it feels like we're leaning towards violence pretty quickly.
Well, I need people to first realize freedom of speech is not freedom of consequences. You can say
That's
whatever you want, but there are
fucking
consequences
right.
to everything. I can virtually say whatever I want. However, there are consequences that if I say anything that my employer feels is out of line, I will be unemployed.
You out. Yeah.
Again, I was free to say it. I'm not going to prison for saying it, but at the same time, that's the
Right.
consequence of being, and that's the same thing with anybody. Like you have freedom of speech. And then what people don't realize as well, the whole freedom of speech thing is the government not being able to infringe upon your freedom of
Yes.
speech. It doesn't say anything about private entities. It doesn't say anything about private citizens infringing on your freedom of speech. So don't
Getting
think
popped in the
because
face. Yeah.
yeah. And I think well, a lot of people grew up not getting popped in the face. That's why they talk so very dreams. But no, and again, it's it's also again where you have to be realistic about the situation. They know a lot of the people that vote for them, unfortunately. That's part of their base. They won't
Yeah.
come out and say it out loud. They won't be overtly say it, but they know a portion of their base. That's just how they feel. They are on the whole white supremacist tip. You heard the
Yeah.
lady on Piers Morgan the other day. Just what?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but I made a video about this recently, and I just put it in perspective. And I saw another gentleman make a video about this. Another elderly gentleman make a video today, and he was, basically echoing the same thing that I was echoing. Ruby Bridges, the young lady, the first girl who integrated the schools, she is still here.
She
Like,
has an Instagram. You
yeah,
can follow her on Instagram.
yeah, like we're not that far removed from this society. And keep in mind, Ruby Bridges, the people that grew up with Ruby Bridges, raised kids.
Yeah.
Their kids raised grandkids. We want to say, hey, that stuff's in the past. I'm not sure how your family operated, but I know my family, a lot of things that they grew up with, they passed
Yeah.
down to us and they
Yeah.
taught us. And that was our lived experiences until we got out into the world and we either continued with those lived experiences and those lessons, or we educated ourselves and we changed.
Right.
Well, people do change. A majority of them don't, unfortunately. So to act like that's not the case, that we still don't have these same people that were around during those times, that breeded a whole generation of children, to say it, even if 25% of those people pass the beliefs on to their children, that's still too much.
That's
And unfortunately, that's where we are. Instead of, white hoods now, they just have dog avatars and they hide on the internet. They're not out with the
true. That thing is, yeah.
well, they evolve like the rest of us. They evolve with the time. They don't have big rallies with the white sheets and the bourbon crystals. Now they just on the internet saying whatever they want behind
Talking
these
shit.
big avatar pictures and all that stuff.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
we
I
have
mean,
to
that
face
kind of loops us all the way back to where we started with education.
the reality of who we are as a country, where we were as a country, where we still have to go. They want to, until people stop just trying to sweep things under the rug and actually get the vacuum out and clean up. and
Vacuum, Clorox wipes, we really got to get
actually,
in there.
yeah, when we start actually clean up everything that needs to be cleaned up, instead of just like old company coming over real quick and just hide it all up. We didn't fold these clothes. We just gonna close this door and
Just
hide it all.
shove it in the closet. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's fine.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
will know.
yeah. So as soon as we start doing some deep cleaning, we can actually heal as a country. But until then, we just have to operate within the parameters that we have. And anytime we see anything like that, we have to speak out against it and condemn it and be forceful with it. Again, I'm not saying that everybody who is white supremacist is racist, but I'm saying that everybody that voted for that party, that's who they vote for. Anybody who
Yeah.
does believe that votes for that party. I'm
Well,
not saying everybody in that party is a racist, but I'm saying all the racist people vote for
and
it.
it's not a disqualifier for
Yeah.
that's the thing
No.
that really got me. I had a couple of folks who's like extended people in my sphere tell me that, so and so voted for Trump, and I was like, why? And I was like, so you're telling me they're okay with a racist, a rapist, like a man making fun of disabled people, a man, the way he talks about his daughter.
Oh my goodness, man.
Also, like, he doesn't say the same things about his other daughter. That is so unfortunate. Oh,
well, that's just
compassion.
crazy. They don't, I mean, the same things that they complain about. I'm like, this guy embodies everything that you don't like.
Yeah.
But that is the hero that you guys have built up. And my only positive outlook on everything is, I don't think there can ever be another person like him that they can galvanize.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So I'm just trying to encourage people, like, don't become apathetic. Don't give up. Don't stop fighting. We only have to endure this for just a little bit. If
Right.
we
Literally 18 months. We get the midterms.
we don't have to endure this for long. And heck, the way his health looking, he might not have to endure it. So
Keep giving him
stay-
McDonald's.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah, exactly. Just stay strong and keep the faith, guys. We got it. We got it. Don't let all this flood, this all nonsense distract you from the only thing that they're caring about, which is trying to push these tax cuts through and give all these money to the super rich folks and take everything away from us. That's all this is. All this extra century stuff, they don't even worry about it. Just focus on the money.
It's always about the money. That's the interesting part about the United States, at least from what I've learned about history, is like it's very predictable, and you just have to go after. You have to find a way to go after the money. So, you mentioned apathy, and I think we're coming towards. Well, you mentioned apathy. So what is a good way for like the average American and like voters in your district to not become apathetic and not become nihilistic? Because I think a lot of people are like, we can't come back from this. There's no way to come back from this. Do you have any thoughts around that and like how we can keep the faith and keep people excited and hopeful and things like that?
Don't let nobody take your voice away. Your voice is the most powerful thing that you have. If it wasn't, they wouldn't be trying so many different ways to suppress it. They wouldn't be trying to pass the SAVE Act. They wouldn't be trying to do all this real ID stuff. Like, don't let nobody tell you your voice don't matter, because they come up with too many different rules and regulations to try to make sure you don't have a voice. Like, I don't know about you, but if something don't matter to me, I'm not trying to do everything I can to suppress it.
To take it away.
Exactly. Right. Obviously, our voices matter. We can make a change. We can make things better. We can improve upon what we are dealing with right now. So don't let them, again, flood the zone on you. Don't let them make you feel like it is overwhelming and it is too much. You still have people in high level positions that are fighting back. You still have the judges and the courts who are keeping everything at bay for the most part. They're not letting some of the most extreme things, these quote unquote executive orders. And that's another thing I want people to understand too. Executive orders are not laws.
Right.
Executive orders are not laws. Just because he signs an executive order, that doesn't mean that it is a law. That it's just like what is it can't be undone. You see, he is losing all these cases in court as it relates to these executive orders. So if it don't go through Congress and it's signed by the president and certified in legislation, certified in the law, we can combat it. We can fight it. You have all these different governors across the state, across the country that are standing up. You have different attorney generals. Shout out to Letitia James up in New York.
That's right. She's mine.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
She's ready and willing. I love that lady. She don't
Yeah.
care. So, sure, there are plenty of people out here still fighting for you guys. There are plenty of people out here still putting up different roadblocks. We have to endure for now, again, until these midterms come and we can make a change as far as the House and the Senate is concerned. But again, just continue to live your lives as best you can. Try to save as much money as you can. I know things is very, very expensive out here. Don't hold it for the love of God. Please don't just be engaging with these MAGA people, because it will literally make your brain go insane. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth it's not worth your mental health, man. Just continue to live your life the best way you can. You know, if you live in every day just to be like, see, I told you,
Right.
you're not gonna,
man, you're gonna go insane.
Yeah, we all know what it is. We read Project 2025. We knew what was gonna happen. We're here now, so we just have to get through it. Keep in mind, Project 2025 was only like 180-day plan.
I know. I read the entire thing, and I was like, I can't believe I subjected myself to that. It's just like such poor writing too, and I know that's mean to say, but like I was just like, and obviously there's a bunch of different authors, and you can tell like the voices change throughout, but you're just like, so yeah, we're almost through that.
We're almost through it, and then keep in mind, like everything that they wrote and trying to do is being like reversed or being
quickly
out in court.
Yeah.
So like their famed plan that they've been working on since the 80s, it's already got no teeth. So this whole scary project that was supposed to be like the end all be all, at the end of the day, nothing is going to result from it. We're going to, again, we got 18 months to get things back to some level of sanity, and we'll be okay, man. The main thing right now is to make sure that you're registered to vote. If you're in Florida, I don't know the laws in every state, but here in Florida, after 2 years, you have to re-register to do vote by mail. So that's another thing. That is another thing that we are doing as part of these different Democratic clubs, like those who were registered to vote. Because last year, a lot of people didn't realize it, and when it came time to vote,
is that a newer law in Florida? Okay, that it sounded very Ron DeSantis-y.
So
yeah,
now we have to remind folks and getting these people that we know who vote by mail, accessing through the database and all that stuff. Hey, we have to re-register and just do a no call. Gee, I didn't know that. That's why we got to make sure that
that's why we're here to remind you. Because
and again, we just looking at past voting patterns, Democratic turnout via vote by mail and early voting. That's where we make up a lot of our ground. So bigger lead we have as it pertains to that, the more likely our chance of winning. So we definitely want to make sure we're closing that voter registration gap here. And we definitely want to make sure we're encouraging people, if they do vote by mail, to make sure that they're registered to vote by mail for the midterms. And also explaining the process of registering and voting by mail to a lot of people that just say, hey, I don't want to stand in line on election day. Let's say, like, look, I will help. This is how you register. This is how you sign up to vote by mail. You just make sure when that letter comes, you fill it out. Don't wait till the last minute. You fill it out immediately and send it back.
And you have your witness signed. I think that's what we. I went home to babysit my brother and his wife's dog last year around Halloween, and they both were waiting for me. They were like, "Will you be our witness? Because our spouses can't be witnesses." I was like, "Yes, I will. Thank you. I'm so happy." They're like, "Okay, great. We're going to the airport right now. Please put them in the mail." I was like, "I am on it." I was like, "I am mailing their votes in. I got it." But yeah, it's everything around politics, including registering to vote, including how you vote, when you vote. It's all so complicated, and it shouldn't be.
That's another thing. Like, I doubt it passes, but I definitely want to try to do like the automatic enrollment when you turn 18. I know Republicans gonna fight that thing tooth and nail, but if we can get enough people, that's why I say we got to get as many people as we can in Congress so
Yeah.
we can pass that. If we pass that one, game changer.
I mean, beautiful. It should be.
Game
Like,
changer.
you go and you get your 18-year-old license or whatever, your
Yeah,
whatever you
automatic.
need, and it just goes. It's like we have so many different. I've worked on a lot of campaigns, and people are always is mostly in New York, and you register to vote in New York with your social security number. That's how they do a background check on you. It's exactly what they do to you if you forget your license and you're at the airport.
Yeah.
I know this because it happened to me once, and I lost my license on the flight to Los Angeles, and on the way back, I was like, am I living in Los Angeles now? But like people ask all the time, they're like, how do they do it? How can they make sure there's not two of me? I'm like, we have numbers assigned to us. It's like there's every single. I've said, yeah, like your number, and they'll know if it's the wrong number. Which I also found out the hard way. I put the wrong number on my student loan application. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong
Sally
with it.
May loved that.
Your whole ID thing too. Just keep in mind, all of you, those of you who are listening, who will be listening to this, with the whole real ID situation. If you don't think that they're going to be looking at these numbers when the votes come out, and if they determine, hey, having real ID is a big thing among one demographic as opposed to another demographic, the voting laws start to change. If you don't have a real ID, you won't be allowed to register to vote. So if you ain't got one now, go get that real ID, because if they determine that's a thing that they want to use, they will make it as hard as possible to get a real ID. So for those of you who don't have one, please make sure you go get a real ID as soon as possible. That way you don't have to worry about facing those hurdles down the line. Because again, the thing about chess, you got to be ahead of your enemy. You got to be ahead of the game.
And you've got to see the 15 different plays that are about to happen. That's what I'm more of a checkers person myself. Literally, you're looking at the board and you're like, oh, they could go 10 different ways. And that's where we're at, I think, right now. But I am so happy that we were able to have this conversation. I don't have any other questions. Do you have anything else that you would like to share about you or your campaign? I will tell everybody where they can find you also as well. Obviously, your website, bernardtaylorforcongress.org. Is that right?
Yep, that is correct. So yes, guys, please make sure you visit the website, bernardtaylorforcongress.org. Also, please make sure you consider donating. Again, instead of getting that Powerball ticket, shooting $2 my way, very much appreciated. Again, this is a grassroots campaign, so every little bit of support, it helps along the way. Guys, stay engaged, stay involved. Don't be discouraged. Don't be apathetic. We got a little bit ways to go, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Don't feel like there isn't. For God's sake, we just got a pope. We got the first American pope with some Creole in his background. That's crazy.
He also has, I think his great grandfather's Haitian as well.
Yeah, his grandma and granddad, like not even that far removed. I was like, what you say? So again, God, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Just
things are changing.
Yeah, don't let the news cycle run your life, man. Go out and smell the fresh air. Go out and run around. Go frolic in the grass or something. And just enjoy your life. Man. Keep working hard. Save your money. Make sure that you are supporting not just me, but any of these candidates that have decided to step up. There are a lot of people, especially a lot of young folks around the country, that are starting to step up and decide they want to run for office. So be on the lookout for them as well. You can follow me across all social media platforms. It's Bernard Taylor for Congress everywhere. Even on that health site X, I jump back on there to run this campaign. Anywhere you want to find me, I'm there. So again, thank you for having me. Very much appreciate you. And I appreciate you for actually starting this process and not being so scared to do it. And I appreciate you letting me be your first guest.
Thank you so much.
Our theme music is by Bobby McDonald, and our